The UNSC Infinity is the greatest modern capital ship in Halo. We'll discuss why on today's video. Today's video is happily sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, and I mean, check this game out. Forget everything you know about mobile games because Raid is one of the most ambitious RPG projects of the year, and it's going to change everything. Raid is totally immersive, something like you'd find on a console or a PC game, but it's on your smartphone and totally free. It has all the features you'd expect from a brand new RPG title: an amazing storyline, awesome graphics, giant boss fights, PvP, and hundreds of champions to collect and customize. The game's graphics can't be doubted. I mean, look at the level of detail on these champions. And what's more, Raid Special Launch Tournament is happening right now, and it's getting big real fast. So go to the description of this video, download Raid only through my link, and you'll get 50,000 silver immediately. And here's the coolest part, you'll also be automatically entered into their special launch tournament. You can compete with me and other players for crazy in-game prizes and physical prize packs, which will be delivered right to your house. I'm talking things like t-shirts, power packs, and more. Anyway, good luck, and I'll see you there. Anyway, on to the lore. I've identified 5 features that make the UNSC Infinity almost unbeatable, and certainly the most unique and powerful vessel of the modern Halo universe. The first is that it is a completely self-sufficient war machine. The Infinity was birthed from Project Ouroboros. It was meant to be a final lifeboat for humanity should the worst happen and Earth, as well as all of her colonies, were destroyed by the Covenant. It's unsurprising then that the Infinity was a completely self-sufficient war machine. Not only did it undergo 15 plus years of development, but it was the largest UNSC vessel in both size and mass. Its self-sufficiency allowed it to do everything from wage individual war campaigns to respond to threats to mediate peace talks. The Infinity had a crew quarters like you'd expect on a colony ship, meaning that people could comfortably serve for years. It had perhaps the most advanced Spartan training facility in the entire galaxy and the second largest simulation environment within the UNSC. Additionally, she carried over 6,000 troops with both ODST and Marine brigades. These troops were supported by over 600 vehicles, including 150 Pelicans, over 500 Warthogs, 80 tanks, and miscellaneous other assets, like the Mammoth. Of course, ODSTs could also enter battle through drop pods, and the UNSC Infinity's internal MAC cannon could also be used to fire starships or other assets, giving the vehicle an incredible amount of versatility. Speaking of MACs, or magnetic accelerator cannons, that takes me to my second point. The UNSC Infinity was armed with 4 Series 8 MAC cannons. This is remarkable because the vast majority of ships have 1 MAC and can either fire at low power or suffer long wait times as the gun is reloaded, where they're unable to strike against their enemy. Not the Infinity. She has 2 forward-facing MACs, which we know can be fired at the same time, and 2 flank MACs, allowing it to engage enemies in all directions, which is certainly unique for a UNSC vessel. What's more, as we see in Halo 4, the Series 8 MACs were incredibly powerful. They were able to punch through the hull of the Mantle's approach, something even Earth's orbital defense platforms couldn't do with a sustained barrage. The Infinity could easily destroy something like a gargantuan CSO supercarrier, while being much smaller, and this power is due most likely to integrated Forerunner power generators. However, even without her famous MACs, the UNSC Infinity would most likely still be the best armed UNSC ship. It utilized a vast array of missiles, flak and projectile cannons, Havoc nuclear warheads, and, as we see in Halo 4, smaller MAC turrets which were capable of destroying at least small cruisers. The incredible offensive potential of the UNSC Infinity just cannot be denied. That brings us to arguably its most unique aspect. underslung frigates. Although the UNSC Infinity normally did travel with an escort fleet, she could also bring with her at all times at least a dozen heavy frigates within her internal bays. And I mean, this is incredible. Not only does it provide 10 extra mobile MAC cannons, but it gives the Infinity a really incredible amount of versatility. Ships can cover the flanks or rear of the vessel, can probably launch some fighters of their own, can perform tactics on a group level, or can absolutely decimate an enemy ship. In the worst case scenario, where the Infinity survives a serious injury, there's a pretty good chance that you might have one of the best lifeboats in existence within your ship. But there's also a really underlooked benefit to this. The Infinity can be continually modernized through the vessels it carries. Sure, you can replace internal ship systems, but that's difficult, and we know the Infinity did so with parts from her sister ship, the Eternity. However, you can also swap out the frigates, and you can actually do so much more easily if they're up to spec. This means that the Infinity can always have with it at least one piece of the most cutting-edge hardware available. And interestingly, between Halo 4 and Halo 5, the Infinity did in fact change frigates, moving to the Anlace, which used Covenant-style direct energy weapons, which was fairly unique for a UNSC ship and likely represented the peak of offensive technology. Also, the loadout, which is a funny way to characterize almost a dozen 100-meter plus long ships, can be varied depending on the Infinity's mission profile. Maybe you want a frigate that operates well in atmosphere, or one with a long-range MAC. Just swap the frigate out before the mission. Moving on, I want to talk about propulsion systems, and both the slipspace and sublight drives of the Infinity were heavily integrated with Forerunner technology, and along with power generation and sensors, this is one area where the ship benefited the most from that ancient tech. Throughout the Human Covenant War, the UNSC was at a serious disadvantage when compared to the Covenant in FTL travel, with the Covenant always being faster. Given what we know about Covenant power generation, it's very likely that the same can be said of ships flying at sublight speeds. However, even the basic non-FTL engine of the Infinity took over a decade to test and build, while the slipspace engine was a combination of Covenant designs and recovered Forerunner slipspace technology. The effects of the engine are obvious. Besides for much increased speed, the UNSC's Infinity Mark 10 Macedon Z prototype Shaw Fujiwaka drive allowed for drastically increased jump accuracy. During the war, sometimes the best the UNSC could hope for was an in-system jump accuracy, meaning that they would need to travel at sublight speeds, sometimes between planets. However, we see in Halo 4 that the Infinity seems to be able to make a jump within perhaps a kilometer or two, as it purposely crashes through a Covenant ship and within a battle group. The Infinity, because of humanity's unique dissection of Forerunner technology, is faster than Covenant capital ships at both slipspace and sublight speeds. Pretty impressive. Finally, I'd like to talk about shielding, and I'll keep this one pretty short. The Infinity, of course, was the first UNSC ship to use energy shielding, but what's more notable is the fact that the shielding is based on combined Forerunner Covenant design principles, and even without the shield, the Infinity would have still been the most survivable UNSC ship by far. And I mean that makes sense given its function and the fact that most of its design was completed before the end of the war and the proliferation of human capital ship grade shielding. The Infinity had a 5-meter thick hull protecting the vessel, while something like the Marathon had a mere 2 meters. To me, it's incredible that the ship is essentially cocooned while also still so functional. And I mean, we do see the Infinity ram a Covenant cruiser, and she doesn't even take a scratch. But those are my 5 reasons why the Infinity is the greatest modern capital ship in Halo. And there's a lot I didn't mention here: the exploratory and scientific capabilities, the ship's incredible sensor suite, and the fact that the best of the best would have been assigned to the Infinity, making her a bastion of human knowledge, ingenuity, and skill. That is, however, just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Special thanks again to Raid for sponsoring today's video. There will be a link down in the description. You can find everything there. Anyway, as always guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. Keep the Covenant scared, and may the Force be with you.